Now, the timing, as I said, is important because I think we also need to remember that we got a heavy whiplash from Trump tariffs.
GST was seen as the flashpoint of fiscal federalism between the states, isn't it?
I don't think there's going to be any massive change in that structure. If you look at our tax structure, over the years it has been going changes, and this would be seen, at least the government wants us to believe that it's a structural change.
Hello and welcome, Vijay Srinivasan, and this is Talking Sense with Srini. We're discussing GST 2.0 as India cuts taxes on hundreds of goods in an attempt to boost consumption and to mitigate Trump's steep tariffs. Joining me to discuss more is our editor-in-chief, Mr. S. Srinivasan. Thanks so much indeed for your time, sir. Let me begin with you there. What do you think was the core motivation behind the government of India to simplify GST tax slabs into just two? And would you think is it just to sort of spur consumption, or you think it's to sort of simplify, or is it going to be to sort of tackle the Trump's tariffs?
I would say all of these. It's not just one factor, all of these. There has been a demand for quite a while, and especially Congress party for the last 8 years have been screaming that GST reforms are required. States have been demanding, and then even there is a general perception among the population that GST is some kind of a tax which needs to be improved. This has been there for a while, and India's tax structure for a number of years, rather I would say decades, they're trying to simplify, especially indirect taxes. And with the arrival of GST, there was expectation that this would be simplified.
That's right.
Now, again, when the GST was introduced, it's a kind of a two-tier system. It works. One is central GST plus state GST for interstate, taxes, and IGST. That's for intrastate. Sorry,
That's right.
and IGST for
Interstates. That's right.
Now, that itself is a two-stage then, and there were many more slabs. Now they have reduced the slabs, and they are saying effectively there will be two slabs, 5%, 8%, 18%, and there would be a sin tax which is moves up to 40% from
That's
28%. So basically there were earlier 5 or 6 slabs, but even now there are about 5 slabs because there is a 0 slab, there is a 5% slab.
There's 18% slab.
In between that, there is a 3% gold which attracts, and then 18%, and then 40%. So we still have about 5 slabs. So, for instance, if you have to look at other countries, say for instance, some European countries, they have brought down to, which some of them also call as VAT, to single tax. And almost all the other exemptions are not there. So, there is much more needs to be done, but any reform in indirect tax reform is welcome because that's what most people deal with on a day-to-day basis. Now, the other question which you asked, that what could be the motivation? One is, of course, restructuring, reforming. The other thing is also to see that whether the consumption picks up in the economy.
That's right.
And whether the demand is driven. So they expect that with this, there will be a certain demand which will go up, and that will result in more revenue, and probably even there is certain improvement in GDP. And therefore the economy will do better. I think the other thing which they are obviously not stating, the timing. What has prompted them to suddenly announce now? And then Prime Minister, as you heard, he earlier made an announcement during his
Independence Day
speech, and then this was followed up just before the festival season, which is to begin this month end. Once this Shraddha period or something gets over, from September 22 onwards, they want to bring this.
That's right.
Now, the timing, as I said, is important because I think we also need to remember that we got a heavy kind of a whiplash from Trump tariffs. Now, the thing is that any loss that may happen to GDP, that needs to be offset by some kind of growth, and in any case that some boost is required. In any case, they have attempted many things in the economy. The corporate tax been cut to quite a bit, and especially for new companies. Then the income tax bonanza you also saw in the budget. But then still the pickup has been slow, it's been sluggish, and therefore it required perhaps another boost, and that's what they have attempted. So, like I said earlier, it's all of what the reasons you're giving is the cause for this tax reform. Yeah.
And whom do you think that this reforms could actually be benefiting right now? Which sectors you see to stand to benefit, and which sectors stand to lose?
Well, it's a very exhaustive list. It will be very difficult to go through all of that. But, roughly what they seem to have done is that, FMCG goods, packaged foods, basically personal care, kitchenware, all of this have been brought to 5%. Things which affect common man, common person, largely I think those rates have been brought down to give also a kind of a feel-good factor, and also, like I said earlier, trigger consumption. For instance, when the festival season is coming, almost all the sweet, all the packaged items, they all likely to go down. The price is likely to go down, and that's the kind of message they are sending. The Obviously, the FMCG scripts, as you must have heard today, they all have gone up. And the other thing, other than this, which they have tried to also boost, is the middle class by giving two big reliefs. One is both on insurance, life and health. They have brought down the
That's right.
GST. And the other thing is for the rural masses. For farmers, a number of items have been cut, number of things have been brought down, the rates have been brought down. And they've also tried to do other reforms by correcting the inverted duty structure, which means, there was a differential between the way the raw materials and the finished goods. And it was in some ways very reverse structure, where the raw materials are very expensive. So those things have been corrected. So that especially has happened in fertilizer sector, textiles. Those kind of things have happened. The other thing is they also brought the cement prices down, expecting that the construction activity would pick up. So a number of things have been attempted, and largely seem to be aimed at middle class.
The government estimates that there could be 48,000 crore sort of loss in terms of revenue, sticking to the consumption numbers of FY 23-24. But and obviously there's also going to be loss for the states as well because of the simplified tax structure right now. So how do you think that this particular reform would certainly pan out the center-state relations going forward? The GST was seen as a flashpoint of fiscal federalism between the states, isn't it?
I don't think there's going to be any massive change in that structure. And because, you see, in any case, the veto power is still with the center.
Center, that's right.
So, more or less, it's the same structure. Nothing much has changed. But then this, what you mentioned, 48,000 crore loss, actually, I don't think it will be that much of a loss. Think in terms of GDP, it's only 0.13% of the overall GDP. And if you have to compare with the revenue, I think the revenue from GST itself was, I think, about 16,75,697 crores this current year. So I think again it's a small portion, but even that may not happen, because what is expected is this is estimated on the basis of consumption in 23-24. So obviously they expect the consumption to go up because prices have been, the rates have been brought down across the board. So number of consumer goods, number of consumer durables, electronic goods, FMCG, like I said earlier, all of them are going to go cheaper. So when all of this go cheaper, obviously they expect, more, there's certain revenue buoyancy, and therefore with the rates being cut, they expect always higher realization, and therefore better revenues. And therefore I think this 48,000 crore is more notional. But this is a general question all journalists will ask. They want to know how much has lost. So they have to come out with the figure. So yesterday also, while saying this, the finance secretary was very cautious. He said, look, you're forcing me to say this. This is based on 23-24 consumption. I think it would be better.
He in fact said, I don't want to call it a loss. And so.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I feel that there's going to be no loss, more or less the same. So therefore this question of the really increased tension between the states and the center, there will be, but on other grounds, not on this.
Okay, so will the shift to fewer slabs would certainly sort of spur consumption, sort of help reduce tax burden on households, or you think that the businesses would absorb benefits without passing on to the consumers?
Yes, that is the expectation, and that's a build-up since yesterday. They're only talking of two rates now, 5% and 18%.
That's
And
right.
that's been magnified. And the remaining sin goods, which they're saying very few, has gone up to the 40%. So the message is that there are only two rates actually. Nobody is even talking of that. But there are, like I said earlier, actually even now there are five rates. And there are a number of issues still there. And, there is one write-up which Federal is carrying, a commentary written by T.K. Arun, he's an eminent columnist, and he says that, what do you see visible? I mean, that's the first, first insightful piece I read on GST after yesterday's announcement. I'm sure more things are going to come out. More people are going to go into the fine print and look into it. According to him, what it appears is, the visible, while there has been a visible rate cuts, there are, there are a number of things where the rate has been hiked which are not visible directly. So actually he says that there are a number of other indirect things which has happened, whose impact which you'll know maybe later. For instance, one example he gives of coal. See, the coal rates have been increased. I think it has gone up from, it's gone up from 5% to 18%. So if the coal is taxed, obviously it's going to be, it'll impact electricity generation. The second thing he pointed out is, crude and refined petroleum products, which is sent through the pipeline, that has been increased from 12% to 18%. And which means the petroleum prices would go up. Now earlier people are complaining the petroleum prices are high because of GST. Now if the GST is lowered, but then petroleum, oil manufacturing, oil marketing companies are ultimately going to pass on these to the consumer. So the consumer is going to get it, but it won't be so visible to him. Therefore, he says there are a lot of invisible things now. So one has to probably, these are the only two things he pointed out. I'm sure there are more such detailed things which will come out later as we go along. That how much of a change has come and how much of tax incidence is going to happen. But overall, it seems that it's favoring, a lot of visible things, a lot of things which people use on a day-to-day life. But if these two things are there, that itself could increase the prices. So one has to really look out for those things.
When former finance minister Arun Jaitley launched GST a couple of years back, and it was seen as a great move to sort of reform India's complex tax system. But GST had its own sort of clarity and compliance related issues as well, literally burdening the small scale traders. And we had seen the popcorn sort of criticism, or be the what has happened in Coimbatore with this Annapurna Hotel's owner, Mr. Srinivasan, with the finance minister herself, again with the cream bun. I think,
No.
it's going around on social media as well. Highly critical in a very comical way. But, do you think that particular burden is going to come down because of this simplified tax structure? And what new challenges you see that might pop up in the coming days?
Certainly it will come down, because I think the FM is very conscious of the fact that it was so dramatic. And I mean, these images and the Annapurna, like you said, the owner's complaint was genuine. He was trying to say that, look, a very strange tax structure, the bun and butter, if bought alone, is a lower rate, but then if one is added to other, the rate becomes go up. So people came to say him, look, give them separately, I'll add my own, I'll butter myself. So it became a bit of a joke, and also caramelized popcorn and all those kind of things, which we all know. I'm sure the government was quite smitten by that, and number of decisions have been taken to correct that. But there are a number of other things which we don't know. Like, again, there is one thing which has been pointed out. See, the wood shavings which probably make out of that pencil is made, those rates are gone up. But the price of pencil is there's no tax on pencil now. So the manufacturers of pencil will now complain because they're paying tax on input, but the finished product, they're not able to take the benefit of that. So those kind of things will keep coming up. So there are a number of others we don't know yet, because there are thousands of items. The fine print would be read by individual industries, and then they will come out with their own reactions. But on the overall, from the first cut, most people have welcomed these changes, because certainly a reform was required, and that's what people think would have been attempted by this. But you still, as I repeatedly saying, we need to look at the fine print to more closely to see what are the other implications of this changes which have been brought about yesterday.
One last question there, sir. Do you see this GST 2.0 as some kind of a move to sort of add stimuli to the economy temporarily, or you see it as a structural sort of a reset to sort of boost the Indian economy in its growth in midterm?
Yeah, okay. So both the things are there. There has been, as I said earlier, a lot of attempts being made to give a certain boost to the economy, so that there is a pickup in that. They're particularly concerned about the consumption not picking up, both rural and urban. And that's very important, because if the consumption doesn't pick up, then the factories are not going to add capacity. And many of them are not even doing full capacity.
Right. Somewhere in the mid-70s.
Yeah, so if that doesn't happen, then they're not going to do additional investment. So the domestic investment has not been happening. In fact, a lot more money is flowing out. So the corporates are happy because their bottom line is fine, but they're not investing. And it requires that somehow the money has to be taken out and invested again. So for that, they need to start the cycle through consumption, by increasing consumption, because only when people will buy more, that manufacturers will manufacture more. So I think this again is an attempt to do that. And as far as GST reforms are concerned, that should be seen as a long-term reform. But like I said earlier, that we really don't know whether they have done an adjustment by changing something and bringing back something. Is it the same thing which has been presented in a different way? We really don't know the shape of the animal. Outwardly it looks there have been a major change, and because all visible, like I referred to his article, visible changes one can see that people who, the issues, the thing which we deal with on a day-to-day basis, those rates have been brought down. One has to really, as I am cautioning constantly, because one has to really see that what are the things which have been done, for continuing, so that the revenues don't go drastically. But certainly, if you look at our tax structure, over the years it has been going changes, and this would be seen, at least the government wants us to believe that it's a structural change. It is bringing a fundamental change, the way the GST is being perceived. So let's see, let's hope that this changes will continue. But what has happened is a good thing.
Thank you very much, sir. Insightful talking to you. Thank you.
You.